built their business part by part. Armed with nothing but self-belief, the brothers began with trading and then manufacturing bicycle parts, which soon evolved into the production of bicycles. For post-independence India, the Hero bicycle gave wings to the aspirations of the common man. By 1986, 30 years after its inception, Hero Cycles became the largest bicycle maker in the world. In the next 15 years, the motorcycle venture, Hero Honda, repeated the feat. And both pole positions are held firmly even today. Hero's story is about humble beginnings, the refugee entrepreneurial spirit, hard work, and zeal. It looks at how four brothers with little formal education created a world-class enterprise. This is the incredible tale of a principle-driven organization that created exceptional value for a society that desperately needed transportation. How did four brothers with distinct personalities work like a cohesive unit and build a manufacturing behemoth? How did they synchronize their strengths? How did they resolve their differences, if any? The story goes deep inside the family spirit, the parivar, that brought together employees, customers, channel partners, suppliers and local communities to create success, welfare and well-being for millions. This is the making of Hero. Four brothers, two wheels, and a revolution that shaped India.
True, the making of a hero. Fabulous. सर शायद हर एक हिंदुस्तानी इस नाम को जानता है, हर हिंदुस्तानी। अगर मैं सही हूं तो तालियों से मुझे उत्तर दीजिएगा। Now with all due respect and every word of honor, I would like to invite Sunil Kant Munjal sir on the stage and moderator for the session, Sri Ritesh Singh ji. तो आज के सेशन में चर्चा होगी सर की बुक द मेकिंग ऑफ हीरो पर, जो कि टॉप 10 बेस्ट सेलर्स में नीलसन रैंकिंग में आ रही है और टाटा लिटरेचर लाइव में 2020 बिजनेस बुक ऑफ द ईयर का खिताब हासिल कर चुकी है। बेस्ट सेलर है, बिजनेस बुक ऑफ द ईयर है और कई सारी भाषाओं में, हिंदी, मराठी और गुजराती के अलावा, ये भारत के अलावा पूरे विश्व में अपनी जगह बना रही है। सो विद द काइंड परमिशन ऑफ दैट, किताब के बारे में तो हितेश जी चर्चा करेंगे सर से। विद द काइंड परमिशन ऑफ सर, आई वुड लाइक टू रीड हिज प्रोफाइल सो दैट वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट स्टालवार्ट इज हियर अमंगस्ट अस। Sunil Kant Munjal is the second generation member of the family that founded the Hero Group, India's premier automotive manufacturing group that has evolved from being the world's largest bicycle maker to largest two-wheeler maker. He is now the chairman of Hero Enterprise with interest in insurance distribution, steel making, real estate, corporate training and active investment office. The investment office has made strategic investments in several areas ranging from e-commerce to hospitality. He also supports startups and mature businesses in digital learning, transportation, healthcare, women empowerment, education, financial services, consumer-facing businesses, etc. The investment office runs a portfolio of structured debt, public market investments and private equity investments in India for global markets. He sits on the boards of IIM Ahmedabad, ISB Hyderabad and SRCC Delhi, India's leading colleges for the commerce and University of Tokyo also. He also on the board of the trustees of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He has co-founded BML Munjal University and is president of Dayanand Medical College and Hospital, Ludhiana. He has also served as president of the Confederation of Indian Industry, that is CII, All India Management Association, IMA, and has headed the Doon School governing body for 5 years, been a member of Prime Minister's Council on Trade and Industry, and was on government talks force that prepared the grounds of India's banking, financial services, and taxation reforms. He was also part of Labour Reforms Commission and has chaired the report for skills training and workers' education and few others. Mr. Munjal has set up the Serendipity Arts Foundation, which aims to revive patronage in the art of make all art forms accessible to people through a large multidisciplinary art festival and various other means. He is also the president of Ludhiana Sanskritik Samagam, which supports performing art across North India. He has also chronicled the incredible saga of Hero's founders in the book, The Making of Hero, which featured amongst India's prominent bestsellers for several months and recently won the Business Book of the Year award at Tata Literature Live Festival 2020. Sir, again with every respect, word of respect and honor, we welcome you a lot. आपका संस्कृति के प्रति भी लगाव है, वो यहाँ पर सभी को जानने को मिलेगा. शायद आप लोग परिचित नहीं रहे होंगे इससे इतना. रितेश जी, अब माइक आपके हाथ में है और हम उन क्षणों का अनुभव करना चाहते हैं. सर, मैं ये पढ़ते हुए बड़ा रोमांचित अनुभव कर रहा था कि इतने बड़े आदमी का इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ने का मौका मिल रहा है, तो यही गर्व की बात है. फोटो तो खिंचाएंगे ही साथ में.
हेलो Mr. Munjal, I want to start with the most popular question, I think. Usually promoters group or members from promoter groups don't like to write a book because especially of a publicly listed company. So what actually inspired you to write this book?
So the request for a book or for articles used to come to the family, to my father and my uncles in our companies for decades on end. My father's view was, apne bare mein baat nahi karte. So his stock reply was, no, we do not want to be written about, we don't want a book on us. If you want to write about the company and something to do with the company, that's okay. He finally agreed when my father was actually over 90. And we picked a team to actually write the book. And he agreed only because we kept insisting that this is not about you. It is about the learning from your life which people can actually benefit from. Especially young people and people across all walks of life can benefit from. He agreed, but the authors that we picked were busy doing another book. And they said, give us some time and we will come back. Sadly, by the time they came back, we lost my father. But this request still kept coming. So I thought, if it is to be written, since he had agreed, who better to write a book than an insider? And I had had the occasion to spend more time with him than most others in the family as well. And the very subject of family-owned business was a person.
It leads to public spade, fighting. But the restructuring and transition to younger generation in case of Hero Group was very, very smooth. It was not even covered in media before it actually happened. So would you like to share some insight, because I think you were involved in that restructuring, if I remember the book correctly. So two things. First, let us take us through this partition in brief, and also what kind of suggestions you would like to give to family-owned businesses. Because it's a very common issue in India.
You are right. The incidence of differences and fights in family-owned businesses is not only common in India, it's sadly a global phenomenon. There's now research to show, and there are institutions now which both study and teach this as a subject. In fact, there's a full degree available now on family businesses. They found that 94% of family-owned businesses will destroy themselves by the third generation. And since I had done, as I said, the study of this as a phenomena, I had suggested this to my father and my uncles that we should do a restructuring. And they actually got very annoyed with me. And I've written about this in the book. They said, what's wrong with you? लोग हमारी family की example देते हैं. Is it okay to speak with Hindi, etc., I presume? Yeah.
Please, please. They will be happy.
लोग हमारी family की example देते हैं कि सबका आपस में इतना अच्छा relationship है. The business is doing so well. The companies are growing. So I said, exactly. इस समय कौन करता है? It normally is done exactly as you said, when there is a fight in the family or the businesses are suffering. And at that time, everybody becomes selfish. They're pulling apart, not supporting each other. In this case, if you take the decision at this time when everybody gets along well, it will be a decision which will be acceptable to the entire family and will help the companies to grow. And as a bonus, it will also help our family relationship to remain good. So after a while of back and forth and asking, it was very sensible. They said, if that is the case, then we must do it. So I suggested that they should do it because the culture in the family was such that whatever the family elders said, people would normally follow. Even if you didn't like it, you said, bol rahe hain bade, so let's do it. And after a few months, my uncle called me saying, ye kaam hamare se nahi hoga. So you are friends with everybody, tum karo, we will give you the support. And my father said something very meaningful. He said, be fair and equitable to everybody. And if anyone is unhappy or not fully satisfied, you can give them something from my share. So I thought that was a very telling statement to make. And I said to him that the reality is, if we are fair and equitable, we should not have to give from anybody's share at all. But we will try and do it in a sensible manner that everybody is taken care of and this does not become a public spectacle. Because most family restructurings in India have become media circuses almost.
And if that happens, that leads to stock market problems as well. So yours was basically a proactive rather than a reactive approach to restructuring of the family business.
Yes, and if you look at the businesses today, we had 32 companies at that time. Today, the sum of parts, I don't know the exact number, would be anywhere from 70 to 90, maybe even 100 companies now. Many of them are large global companies, and the family's relationships is wonderful. And whenever there's a family event, everyone gets together. There was one actually last evening in Delhi. All of us were together. So I think we were lucky that we managed to achieve the objective that we set out to when we spoke about the restructuring.
So what kind of advice you would like to give the owners of family-owned businesses? Because there are so many in India. In fact, it's the Nifty stock market dominated by family-owned businesses.
You're right.
Clients. Yeah. So
You're right. The majority of businesses are family-owned businesses, and that's a phenomenon which is world over. It's not often understood or appreciated enough that the bulk of the taxes, the bulk of the employment, the bulk of new jobs are actually created by family-owned businesses. And I don't want to give advice to anybody, but what I can say is it is sensible to have an open communication in families. One of the biggest problems is when people start comparing each other and start assuming things about the other without actually knowing what's really going on. And that's a very common phenomena in life, as it is in families, as it is in business. Those families who are able to create a platform where different generations can get together, share views openly, especially share aspirations and problems, that those families tend to do much better. And now, globally, there is a very interesting phenomena. Some of the more evolved families are putting the best talent in the family to manage the family and not the business. Because they find they can find high quality, trained, evolved professionals to manage the companies, but not so for the families.
One more question related to this restructuring. Is it a good idea to take outside help consultants in helping the restructure of the businesses? What's your thought on this?
So there is not a stock answer for this. You have to be a bit careful because while the problems and issues are reasonably similar across the globe, the solutions are unique to each family. Depending on the family's culture, its size, its scale, its complexity, you can decide. It is always preferred if you can do it yourself without involving outsiders. That's a better way to do it, but it's not always possible. Sometimes the businesses are very complex, very large, or the family size is very large. Sometimes there is not enough communication within the families. So you need an outsider third party that's well respected by different members of the family. So you have to find what is the unique solution for that situation rather than having one standard, one size fits all. That's not the way it actually works.
Open
the
communication.
Principles are not different though.
And open communication is one important factor to take into account while thinking about it.
It's a lot more important than we give it credence for. And in our culture, it is normally, because we are a very hierarchical culture, the youngsters are very rarely able to speak out in front of the elder generation. And part of the problem comes from there.
One of the key success factor, which I understand from reading the book, is your fathers and your uncles nurturing and taking care of the dealer network, and that helped. That was one of the major factors how Hero Group become the market leader. So, can you share your advice or knowledge and insights on how the group nurtured the dealership network?
So what is, if you go across our companies, even though there are different business ownership now, one thing you will find is the word family used over and over again. And this family was the family of suppliers to our companies, people who work within our companies, and our dealers and distributors. They were all considered part of one large family. And the reality is, our successes come from their success. It is when our dealers were able to continue to sell in the markets month after month, quarter after quarter, season after season, we felt the pain of seasonality much less than other companies. So this became the biggest strength that we had, the ability to introduce new models and get them out in the market quickly, the ability to get feedback from the markets through dealers as to what are the changes the market is looking for. So, and not only did we get that understanding, we openly shared it with dealers. In fact, just before coming here, I had a meeting just now with some of our dealers from this region, and for me, it's like it's a delightful experience always to sit down and be able to talk to our dealers because they are our ear to the ground as well.
So the process continues till today of talking to dealer on a regular basis.
Absolutely. Our companies have become larger, businesses are more complex, so we do it less often, but we still do it whenever we can.
Yeah. Attrition or dealing with attrition is one big challenge for all kind of businesses as of now. But Hero and your book talks about lifelong employment and relationship management. So are you able to deal with attrition effectively in Hero? And also what kind of advice will be given from after reading your book to curtail or reduce or check attrition? Because this is a very common problem, especially in today's time. Youngsters try to move or switch jobs very frequently.
So, ये आज का phenomena नहीं है, ये जो मैंने इसमें लिखा है, this is the way it was. Over the last 20 or 30 years, the sheer number of opportunities available today is much more. Also, I think culturally the ecosystem around us has changed. But I dare say we still have much less attrition compared to other industry members. What we do find that if you look after the people in the company well, the work gets taken care of much better because our companies are run by professionals. The members of the family are less and less involved in day-to-day operations. The teams which run them are like our families. So what we used to see is most people who would join the company would actually end up retiring from there. They would not actually retire because the family runs a large number of non-profit foundations in the area of education, healthcare, clean drinking water, gender issues, arts and culture, skilling. So many of those entities are actually run by people who used to be senior managers or senior executives in our companies. So it was a win-win for everybody. They have a lifetime engagement, their families used to get engaged, and these non-profit entities got the top talent to run them, which they would otherwise never be able to afford.
The way is to engage with employees and their family as well.
I think the way is to really care. That's the key to this. If you genuinely care, and when you care, it shows. You can do a put-on job maybe 1 day, 2 days, 10 days. You cannot do it on an ongoing basis. So if you genuinely care, it shows. It demonstrates itself in your attitude, in your communication, and more importantly, in your actions.
Thinking in terms of contractual relationship is not a good idea for Indian context. That's what I can understand from your point.
Yeah. What is increasingly now important is to also understand their aspirations, because wealth creation is a relatively new phenomena in India of large wealth creation. So more and more executives and companies now have access and the ability to actually do wealth creation. So I think it's time that we also in our organization have to create that shift so that they get both the care, the relationship, the connection, and also the ability to create wealth.
While going through your book and also through your profile, I come to see that you are actively engaged with promotion of arts and educational institutions. So would you like to share what exactly you are doing in these two fields, education and arts promotion? And what is your objective in doing that?
Sure. So my belief is that the only tool that we have to make a sustainable, positive change in society is education. There is no other tool which is long-term or as effective, because then you are empowering individuals and people to take control of their own lives. So we run many schools. We have 30,000 children studying in our schools. We run a B.Ed college, an M.Ed college. I also chair a medical college, a nursing college, a full hospital, number of institutions outside, as you heard earlier. I'm involved with IIM Ahmedabad. I'm one of the founders at ISB. I sit on the board of University of Tokyo. Also
Doon as well, since I've stayed in Dehradun for 5 years.
In Doon school as well.
Yeah.
So we start education from pre-nursery and we go all the way to higher education. For the same reason, we believe this truly moves the needle for society. In India, one of our challenges has been education. Both the reach of education has not been enough, and if you go down one step below the top end we had some very good institutions. If you take a step or two below, the quality of education has also not been great. So that's one area in which India needs the help and support. And I think anybody who can contribute, it's fantastic. There are some wonderful initiatives that go on, but the problem is we have islands of excellence. So our attempt is to see how that excellence can leak out and be available to a larger section of society. And it's quite the same with arts and culture.
Let me intervene here because I have one question, follow-up question. So before you respond to my question on promotion of arts, one of the major challenges India facing at the moment is growing unemployability of our graduates. The unemployment rates for graduates and above is 34% now. So since you come from industry, do you have any suggestion to improve the employability of our graduates or students or young and youths? Do you have any suggestion?
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with the course curriculum?
इसमें दो तीन problems हैं, and all are fixable, by the way. And if you see the new education policy has actually addressed them. लेकिन उसकी अभी implementation शुरू नहीं हुई है. और मुझे क्या डर लगता है कि policy तो बहुत अच्छी बनी है, उसकी जो implementation होगी वो state wise implementation है. हमने पीछे सजेशन दी है गवर्नमेंट को कि अगर वो एम्पावर्ड ग्रुप बना लें ऑफ ऑल एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर्स ऑफ ऑल द स्टेट्स, जैसे जीएसटी का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन किया था विद एम्पावर्ड ग्रुप ऑफ फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स, you might get an even implementation. Otherwise, you will have patchy implementation and we may not be able to solve the entire problem. The problem इस समय क्या है कि जो हमारा curriculum है, that curriculum is not only outdated, it is based purely and only on theory. It is not focused on practice. It is not focused on skills. So one of the recommendations which has been accepted in the policy is to start right from class 8 in school to start skilling programs and encourage skilling so that people can take on actual vocational skills. The other thing which we need to do more of is encourage more entrepreneurship, which is why I'm delighted with the new development of startups now. India is now the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. So we've actually played a little bit of a role in there to encourage more and more startups, both partially designing, helping design the system, the policy framework, and then actively also supporting the system through funding and practice. So if you can actually do these three things, a lot of this will take care of itself. Actually, all of it will take care of itself because genetically Indians are very entrepreneurial. If you look at our history and how we approach any problem in life, our approach is always entrepreneurial.
Your family shows that. So, and now my question related to arts. What you are doing in promotion of arts, and what are your objectives, and how that can help in innovation? If you can throw some light.
So, art में क्या issue है कि we have the richest cultural heritage in the world, okay, barring none, literally. If you look back at our history and our culture, we were phenomenally ahead of the rest of the world in how we practiced, how we taught, how we engaged with, and how we appreciated the arts. Over a period of time, this not only declined, we tended to follow the system that was left behind by the colonizers. They said art should be in silos. Theatre alag karo, music alag karo, dance karo, alag karo. That was not the Indian style, by the way. If you look back in history, our biggest patrons were royalty. It started from the palaces, and then it became the temples, and then it became the traders. And then when the British came in, the government became the major promoter, not only the supporter of arts, they defined what would qualify as art. So the company school, as it came to be known, would tell the artist, you have to paint in this style to qualify as an artist. So that actually moved us away from our own culture. Some work did start post India becoming independent. We were $4.2 trillion last year. We will get to 7.3 by the end of this decade, and hopefully 30 or thereabouts by 2047. If you're going to be such a large country, you have to be careful. When you grow so quickly, you also tend to stumble. And what tends to suffer is your cultural stability. So I think it's important for us to remember and allow ourselves a better ability to make decisions, to think. And arts have this unique capability to open our minds to the possibility which you may not otherwise be thinking of. I shouldn't say all, most successful leaders in the world never had a unitary focus. And that's a reality. You can actually look at them, you can study them. So our attempt also is to democratize the access to arts. What started happening over the last 50 or 100 years is arts became the exclusive domain of only a few the world over. So for art shows, only a few people get invited. For a performance, only a few get invited. So we are opening up the access to the arts, not only from the artist side, but also the audience side. So our festival, for example, in Goa attracts a footfall of 100,000 a day. We have artists coming from 30 countries. We have visitors from 60 countries. We set up between 20 and 30 venues across Panjim. So the idea is to allow as many people as possible, and this is physical. Our digital reach, of course, is much, much more. And I think it is important, even in education we are trying multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity. So all our art shows have every art form together. So we have no silos in our projects. So all visual arts, all performing arts, all culinary arts. We also look at food as an art form because it is an inherent part of our culture. It's an important part of our culture. And so we are trying to ensure that not only do we not lose touch, but we also contemporize those skills and prepare ourselves for a better future.
For you, there is a greater coordination between educational initiatives and initiative related to art.
So what we have done also in Ludhiana, we have set up something called a STEAM house. So increasingly in the last 50 or 80 years, what became popular in the world was STEM subjects. Science, technology, English, engineering, maths. So we've added the A to that. So the STEM has become STEAM. So arts with STEM. We are saying that is the way to go to give people the best opportunity for success in life.
Thank you. Now coming to, there is one chapter called Munjal School of basically Management. So what are the key learnings that you want people to take from that? Can you briefly summarize or say something about it?
So that talks about some of the philosophy of what was the philosophy of the family members, became the philosophy of the business, and now we try and espouse it actively, we document it, we try and ensure that senior people that we hire in the companies believe and live that philosophy, so that remains the culture in the organization. Because organizations have become so large, no one person can drive the culture of an organization of this size. So the few strands of this are, one is that the realization that people are our biggest and the most important asset. It is the only asset which appreciates with time. Every other asset that you put in will depreciate with time.
This is not so true about human capital that
Exactly.
only appreciates in value.
Absolutely. The second is relationship, is building relationships and retaining them for a long period of time. Since you spoke of dealers, many of our suppliers are working with us now, second generation and even third generation. I was giving someone the example the other day that one of our dealer events, I think it was in Udaipur or Jaipur, I was talking about our relationship and how our strength comes from dealers, and that we work with you for, many of you are second generation. So one young man put up his hand, kept jumping up. So I asked him, "Kuch aapne bolna hai?" He's saying, "Sir, I'm working fourth generation with your family now." So we pride ourselves in being able to maintain relationships. And I think the value that both sides derive from that cannot even be measured. The third is to keep a concern for the environment, both environment of communities and people around us, and second, of the ecosystem around us. So talking about and doing things of sustainability, environment has become both regulatory and mandatory and fashionable now. We have been doing this in our companies for 30, 40, 50 years, including putting up effluent treatment plants in Hero Cycles 40 years ago, long before it became mandatory. And the next is to remember humility, that no one of us is actually making the difference. So it's important to appreciate it is the environment, is the ecosystem, is the entire regulatory system, it's our support system, our bankers, the regulators, all of us together are creating these organizations, and it is important therefore that each one of us plays a role. We are not the sole driver of this. We are a part of this whole value system. So I think it's important for us, so that it's in the same vein that the value system is defined, and it really talks about motherhood statements being a reality of life. They are motherhood statements because they actually work. But if you put them in practice, so things like always paying on time. So we had set up a system, and I'm going back to Hero Cycles again and again because that's where the foundation was set up. All subsequent businesses followed the system that evolved and made it even more automated, even better. But that was the founding principles got established there. So all the suppliers were told, don't supply too much, only what we need every day. And every Saturday at 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., the checks for that week's supply will be lying on the window. You can come and collect it. And by 5 p.m., if anybody had not come to take the payment, it would get mailed to them. So it was very well known in Ludhiana. If you're a supplier to Hero Cycles, आप अपना चेक काट के दे सकते हैं, आपकी पेमेंट तो आ ही जाएगी.
It was so reliable, the payment
Yep.
system.
Yep. So that
This is very important in a country where small suppliers face problems in getting their payments within time, and because of that, they find it very difficult to pay their supplier.
So that was the culture from day one, is to work with suppliers. As much as I'm talking about dealers, we did the same thing with suppliers. Built a relationship with them so that you constantly helped each other in improving product, improving design, improving productivity, and then share the gains so that everybody benefits. And the commitment, because these are products which have to keep changing with time, designs change, technology changes. So if they are not able to reinvest, if they're not able to bring new ideas, you will also fail. The OEMs cannot work in isolation.
So, would you like to tell something about just-in-time inventory management? That's very interesting.
So the start of the just-in-time was out of sheer need. When Hero Cycles got established, they found that even bicycle components in British time used to come from the UK. So things like hubs, tires, chains, freewheels, all of these came from through agency houses, which were favored companies that the British had left behind. So they said, "Ito chalega nahi. If you get 1,000 rims or 1,000 tires, you can only make 500 bicycles, not as many as you can sell." So they encouraged family and friends to set up component making. Pehle apna lagaya, but they didn't have a lot of money. So because the family had left everything behind. And so they encouraged others and they said, "We will tell you what component to make. We will also help you in designing the plant, but we will not fund the plant for you and we will not run the business for you. That you have to do yourself. Other than that, we are happy to share everything. But we don't have a lot of money. Send us only what we need every day." So that set a culture that just in time was being practiced without knowing it's called just in time, by the way. That we came to know many, many years later. We found that we were doing it before the Japanese made it popular. And when we restructured the companies, of the 32 companies that we had, most were manufacturing companies, not one of them had a warehouse. Because in every one of the companies, components were coming in every day, raw material manufactured or assembled, and being shipped out every day. So there's no warehouse for incoming goods, no warehouse for outgoing goods, so that then you maintain what you call a lean pipe. Initially it was done because there was not enough money, but later on it was done as a design of the business to remain efficient all the time.
So it was basically cost-efficient strategy to control your prices as well. Yeah. So
that's how you were able to supply to consumers a product at a price which was unlike anywhere else in the world. If you see, again, I'm go back to the bicycles. From when the bicycle was, let's say, 80 or 90 rupees, and to when it became 200 rupees, and from 200 when it became 1,000 rupees, the inputs had gone up by 80% to 2,000 to 3,000 times, some of them. So this was done by constantly looking at improvement in productivity, efficiency, lower wastages, design modification, and all of this was done in conjunction with the suppliers and the market.
So let me ask you a current and basically a longer question. So at the moment, most companies are facing slower growth in their top lines, sales revenue. So they are trying to protect their margins by selling premium products, be it housing, cars, bikes, everything. So your group, and especially your father, always emphasized on basically keeping costs low. Only then he could supply the bicycle or later on bikes at lower price. So what's your thought? Basically, in current times, is it a good idea to focus on being the least cost supplier, or maybe focusing on the mass market, or rather than focusing on the premium segment where the margins are higher? And that is the most preferred basically way of doing business for most businesses, or that's the ideal way most promoters or most listed companies want to do that. So what's your thought on this? Should we go for mass market, or should you go for premium focusing?
I can answer your question. It will take about a week to answer all of your question, by the way. It's not a simple question.
It's a longer
So
one.
I can give you a short version of the answer. First, there is no one approach, by the way. So we have found if you focus very tightly on your cost, then you have the flexibility to be able to control your pricing, to be able to control access to markets. That's always a smart thing to do. But there is a limitation to how much you can do. So the second part we supplemented that with was scale. Scale is a magical thing. That allows you to do things you can never otherwise do. And the third was innovation. Constantly innovating, ideating. So if I give you an example of one crank of a bicycle, one crank used to be machined on one machine at one time. Our own team designed a jig with which you could put 5 cranks at one time and drill them all together. So in the time of one, you were doing 5. Then they said, this takes a long time to take on and off. We are wasting time. So they created another jig where while these 5 were being drilled, you could load the other side. So that instant turnaround, so you were able to do about 8 in the time of 1. So ideas such as these became part of the DNA of the company. It's genetic, the behavior has become genetic now. But there are companies who build an organization which is focused on premiumization, which is okay too. None of this is good or bad, by the way. This is a different approach. You're accessing different markets. The behavior of markets itself is different. Therefore, your behavior as a supplier of that goods or services has to both understand and meet both the expressed and implied needs of the customer. That is what is critical.
Rather than going for either of the two, it's better to gauge the market and then decide your strategy and try to focus more of the, so I got it.
The only thing is, as you go higher in premium, the scale is going to get smaller and smaller, which is fine because some companies choose to do that. What we have chosen is what we like to call serve Middle India. Middle India is the largest part of India's population. It is also the most aspirational part of India. It is also the most exciting part of India that constantly wants to do better for themselves and for their families and their children. So that is so exciting to see, and today it is palpable.
So why I ask this question is that I have worked in Raymond as well. So there the brand power is also as strong as Hero. So there the focus is on charging brand premium rather than trying to be more cost efficient, because you can charge. But because of that, the market has not grown as much as like in case of Hero. Okay, now my other question. What is the next for you? Because people would want to know what you are going to write next, given the success and the utility of the book for readers like me. Is there any plan to write anything else in near future?
So when I was writing this book, the publisher actually asked me, "Aap kiske liye likh rahe hain? Who is the audience?" So when I told him that this is a business book, but it's not only for a business person. It's a family story, but it's not just for a family or a housewife. It's for students, it's for entrepreneurs, it's for managers, it's for actually across the board. So he said 2 or 3 things to me, and I did follow them. One, he said, please write simple English and short sentences, which I have done if you read the book. Second thing he said, do not write more than so many pages. So the moment he put these 2 constraints, part of what I was writing get shrunk to that extent. So I've written in the foreword, I think, there are about 1,000 stories which did not go into this book. So I don't know if I will sit down and start penning them again. If mood karega, to maybe I do that. But I am writing another different book right now on a completely different subject. So I'm writing a book on restaurants and food in Delhi at this moment, because there are 4 of us friends who do go to a different restaurant every month, and we write a review. So we're publishing that as a book right now, both the conversations, the restaurants, what's special about them, and also some of their menus and recipes.
Given your background and interest as well in policy making and policy advocacy, I can say that I would have preferred you to write a business perspective on policy making, like what kind of policy would help the businesses to grow faster and so that they can create jobs more. We need the jobs badly, as you know that. There is one
So
question.
you are putting me in a fixed slot only.
Yes,
That's the point I was
that's
making.
my selfish interest.
That was the point I was making in the beginning. All of us are made up of many dimensions.
Yeah.
So you are somebody's son, you're somebody's nephew, you're somebody's brother, you're somebody's friend. You have many dimensions to you. You're not a unitary focused person.
Yeah. So I'm also writing a book about how to make younger generation financially responsible. And so I have one question. Usually when I talk to people, they say that younger generation is not so prudent about spending their money. And if you have more money, so how do you make your younger generation, your children, to respect money? Because your family has seen all that, the trouble from partition and then surviving and then thriving. So do you have any advice, or how do you face this problem, or do you face this problem?
So this is actually a very important point you are making, by the way. This is about culture. So in our family, we grew up with the culture to care, to be frugal, don't waste. We were taught that when we were very young. We've tried to teach that to our children. Clearly, our children have grown up in a much I think it's very, very valuable for a nation. So what we find is that every next generation for a successful business will behave differently. As we said, the third one is called the destroyers. So that also happens because they don't understand, they don't have the same pain when
They have not seen bad days, basically.
Exactly. So it is important to remind ourselves now and then. When I'm saying ourselves, I'm talking about our children. And therefore, what we did when I was given the role of help grooming the children in the next generation, when the whole family used to work together. So what I would tell them is, I would first discourage them for joining our family business. I would say, first tell us, what is it that you're passionate about? Because we are in a unique position. We first have to be grateful for the opportunities that the Almighty has given us, that we have benefited from. But our children can make any decision to do whatever they are passionate about. So if you can identify you're passionate about this or that, then let's get you the best education for that. And those who still said, I want to join the family business, I would tell them, you go and work somewhere else first. Don't come into our company. You have to show us that you can work, you have learned to work ethic, and you can work where you're not somebody's nephew or niece or son or daughter, that if you have to provide a report by Monday morning 9 a.m., that you better provide it by 9 a.m. Monday morning. And I think it's important, therefore, that the value system is inculcated well in children. If it is, then their ability to handle money as much as decisions is more sensible. But the easy way people find now is making family offices where the family wealth gets allocated to the family offices and youngsters are given the opportunity to invest. If they do invest responsibly, it's fine. But if they only look at this as an easy way out, I think that is a problem.
Okay. So let me come back to that question. Uday Kotak of Kotak Mahindra Bank, he said that younger generation wants to do investment management rather than taking over something which is more difficult, that is entrepreneurship. Rather than running a real business, they want to manage investment. Basically, investing in equity market and bond market, which is slightly, even I subscribe to that point.
I quite agree with that.
So is it because the risk return reward basically has tilted towards financial management rather than running a real enterprise?
Yeah, so it has again two dimensions to it. I think we're running out of time. You're being reminded now. So I think there's two dimensions to it. One, you do need more financial managers as the economy grows, as the size of the economy grows, as surpluses grow. But you also do not want to lose the touch with actually what happens on the shop floor. So what we used to do in our family was have all the youngsters first train outside, and then when they came back, we said you have three options. Either you start at the bottom. So many of us worked on factory floors along with the workers and supervisors. Or if you want to do something on your own, we can help you start a new business or we will put you to run one of our troubled companies. But you cannot sit on top of a successful company when you're just starting off. You cannot take the privilege only of your name to use as a way to get a leg up. You have to earn that yourself.
Thank you. Now I'm finished with my question. If audience has any question, they can ask.
Sir, I am from Odisha and I am from a corporate background also. I would like to know, you told many good things which were music to our ears, and we are grateful to you. Just I want to know that since you are telling that you have been provided so much opportunity by the Almighty, how much you are giving to the society as a CSR activities?
I thought I mentioned that. We work in the areas of education, healthcare. So these are all non-profit activities, by the way. So our hospital is one of the largest in the country, in Ludhiana. We have 30,000 children studying in our schools. We do multiple things, actually. They're not designed for publicity, so they're not in any of our brochures. So we do both. We do this from our companies, but more important, we do it from our family foundations as well. There's a lady's hand up there.
Hi, good afternoon. I just would like to ask you that a lot of youngsters are sitting here, sir. So when you take up youngsters in your company, what are the three main skills, or you may say, what do you really look into the new kids when you are taking in? That'll be nice if you give some points to the young children. Thank you.
Only attitude. Only one thing.
Vocal about their choice, vocal about what do they want out of life. So I read an article where it said that it is very hard to work with the younger generation now because they're very, very professional. So when you say attitude, can you further define what you look into attitudes?
So those who are vocal, you are also able to learn a lot from them, because the youngsters have a lot more exposure than our generation. So of new ideas, new technologies, new processes, new systems, we like to make sure we are also listening. So which is why as more and more young people come into the organizations, we are able to induct much more technology, which was a constraint earlier. So what we like is, we like lateral thinkers. We like people who have ability to learn, and we like people who are experimental. In our companies, we encourage experimentations. In fact, in my annual New Year address to our organizations, one of the things I always tell them is, let's go out and make new mistakes this year. But they have to be only new mistakes, mind you. You cannot repeat one. That's not acceptable.
Sir, I'm Santosh Gupta. I think your company has reached a critical mass for globalization. So what efforts are you making to make your product compete effectively at global level?
So I'm no longer involved in the bicycle or the two-wheeler business, as was mentioned at the start. I used to be the MD there. My brother Pavan now runs the two-wheeler business, and my cousin Pankaj runs the bicycle business. I'm not involved in those companies. As a part of the restructuring, I stepped out of that businesses. And those are both outstanding large companies. They are already global companies. Each is the largest in the world, by the way. So the critical mass is there beyond the normal critical mass. And they have been the largest for Hero Cycles since 1986 and Hero MotoCorp since the year 2000. So last 24 years, it's been the largest company in the world. So it constantly looks to reinvent itself. I think that's the beauty, that large companies, as they get older, have to behave younger. That's important. As you know, there's now a lot of research which looks at companies which grow in a flash and then get lost. but there are some who will be successful quarter on quarter, year on year, and decade on decade. Those are unique companies to learn from.
So, by the limit of time, we are bounded by that. So, I hope you do understand. आपको सुनना हमेशा हम लोग चाहते हैं. एक छोटा सा AV है सर, वो अपन चलाइएगा आप. एक सर का एक 3 minutes का AV है हीरो मोटर्स का.
Sorry.
Thank you.
You're saying something?
एक हिंदी वाला AV भी है आपका.
कमालिया की तंग गलियों और क्वेटा के ऊबड़ खाबड़ इलाके से निकलकर उन्हें हिंदुस्तान आना पड़ा। उनके पास तन पर पहने कपड़ों के अलावा कुछ नहीं था। भारतवर्ष के बंटवारे के दर्द से उजड़ चुके शहरों अमृतसर, आगरा और दिल्ली में 6 मुंजाल भाइयों में से 4 दयानंद, सत्यानंद, ब्रिजमोहन लाल और ओम प्रकाश ने तिनका तिनका करके अपना कारोबार खड़ा किया। उनके पास आत्मविश्वास के अलावा कुछ नहीं था। मुंजाल बंधुओं ने पहले साइकिल के पुर्जों का कारोबार शुरू किया, फिर उन्होंने साइकिल के उत्पादन के क्षेत्र में कदम रखा। अपने असाधारण जज्बे की बदौलत प्रगति के पथ पर तेजी से आगे बढ़ते हुए वे जल्द ही साइकिलों का उत्पादन करने लगे। स्वतंत्र भारत के इतिहास में हीरो साइकिल ने आम आदमी की आकांक्षाओं को नई उड़ान दी। अपनी स्थापना के 30 साल बाद 1986 में हीरो साइकिल्स दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी साइकिल कंपनी बन गई। उसके अगले 15 वर्षों में मोटरसाइकिल के संयुक्त उपक्रम हीरो होंडा ने इसी उपलब्धि को दोहराया। इन दोनों ही शीर्ष स्थानों पर हीरो आज भी मजबूती से खड़ा हुआ है। हीरो की कहानी अत्यंत साधारण शुरुआत, शरणार्थी में उद्यम खड़ा करने के उत्साह, कड़ी मेहनत और जोश की कहानी है। ये कहानी हमें बताती है कि मामूली औपचारिक शिक्षा के बावजूद 4 भाइयों ने कैसे विश्व स्तरीय उपक्रम खड़ा कर दिया। ये सिद्धांतों से प्रेरित संगठन की ऐसी अतुल्य कहानी है जिसने उस समाज के लिए असाधारण मूल्यों का निर्माण किया जिसे परिवहन के साधनों की बेहद जरूरत थी। अलग अलग व्यक्तित्वों वाले 4 भाइयों ने आखिर कैसे एक मजबूत इकाई बनकर काम किया और एक विशालकाय कंपनी खड़ी कर दी। अपनी क्षमताओं में उन्होंने तालमेल कैसे स्थापित किया, यदि कोई मतभेद हुए भी तो उन्होंने उन्हें कैसे सुलझाया। ये कहानी परिवार की भावना का दर्शन अनंत गहराइयों तक कराती है। एक ऐसा परिवार जिसने लाखों लोगों की सफलता, कल्याण और समृद्धि का सृजन करने के लिए कर्मचारियों, ग्राहकों, चैनल पार्टनरों, आपूर्तिकर्ताओं और स्थानीय समुदायों को एकजुट किया है। ये है हीरो की कहानी, 4 भाइयों का औद्योगिक चमत्कार।